NASCAR finally releases its 2025 schedule, and it also hints there might be more changes to come in 2026. So let's get into all of it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, NASCAR has finally released its schedule. After all kinds of leaks and all kinds of schedules being out there, they have finally released the official schedule and for all the series. And it's kind of interesting, so let's just start with the trucks and work our way to the Cup Series starting right now. Trucks going up to 25 races. This from Bob Pockrass, adding Rockingham, Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, and New Hampshire and Michigan, but it's going to lose Gateway, Kansas, and Milwaukee. So that right there, definitely going to be a bummer for the Kansas, the Gateway, and the Milwaukee fans. But you're gaining Rockingham and New Hampshire, which will sort of offset those tracks that at least drive like a short track. And not only that, but getting Rockingham, that is something that a lot of fans have asked for a really, really long period of time. So adding Rockingham to the schedule is going to sort of offset any of the negative feelings of losing the Milwaukee Mile or any of those other tracks. So that's going to be a good thing. I do think fans are going to complain about, adding the road courses and things like that, but it is what it is. It's NASCAR. You can't have anything without somebody complaining about something. Anyway, here is the full schedule. February 14th, they'll be at Daytona. February 22nd, they will be in Atlanta. March 14th, they'll be in Vegas. So a nice gap there for them to get to Vegas for the smaller operations that are the truck teams. Then they'll be in Homestead, Miami. Quick turnaround there. So what I just said applies not there with the Miami Homestead deal. Then they'll be in Martinsville. Then they'll go to Bristol. And Rockingham will be April 18th. Texas going to be May 2nd. Kansas, so they do have one Kansas race still, just not two of them, will be May 10th. Then you got North Wilkesboro on May 17th, Charlotte May 23rd, Nashville Superspeedway May 30th, Michigan June 7th, Friday June 20th will be Pocono. Then you got Lime Rock, that's the new track there, June 28th. Lucas Oil will be July 25th. August 8th they'll have Watkins Glen. Richmond will be August 15th. And then the playoff tracks are going to be Darlington, Bristol, New Hampshire, Charlotte Roval, Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix. So while a lot of people will debate this and that about the schedules, I've never been like a schedule hawk. I only do these episodes because I know you guys care about them, so I put as much effort as I can into them, but I don't know the ins and outs of it. Like a lot of fans that really just get into the nitty-gritty of the schedule. Me personally, back in the day before I started doing a YouTube channel, just waited for the schedule to come out, looked at the schedule and was like, hey, Martinsville, I can go there, and then Martinsville, the other race, I'll be going there, and then Charlotte and whatever races I could fit in to my schedule when it came out. I never really looked at it from a logistical standpoint or anything like that for the Cup teams, but I guess with the playoffs now, you do sort of have to look at it that way. Anyway, moving right along, here's the Xfinity schedule. Well, you'll have Daytona, Atlanta, COTA, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Miami Homestead, Martinsville, Darlington, Bristol, and then Rockingham right there being added for the Xfinity Series as well. So 2 races for Rockingham next season. Talladega, Texas, Charlotte, Nashville Superspeedway, Mexico City. So the Xfinity cars will be in Mexico City also. Pocono, Atlanta, the Chicago Street Race, Sonoma, Dover, Indianapolis, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Daytona, and Portland, followed by Worldwide Technology Raceway. Then the playoff tracks for the Xfinity Series are going to be Bristol, Kansas, Charlotte Roval, Las Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix. And once again, another breakdown here from Bob Pockrass. The 2025 Xfinity schedule adds Rockingham, Mexico City, Gateway, and a second Bristol. Richmond, Darlington, New Hampshire, and Michigan are all losing races. All right, so those are your big ones there for the Xfinity Series, Rockingham, and of course, Mexico City going to be the 2 ones that sort of get the most press and talked about the most because Rockingham, of course, returning. Mexico City, of course, is going to be the international race. Now let's get to the big one, the NASCAR Cup Series. Well, we'll start off with the Clash at Bowman Gray. Of course, Bowman Gray, a new track for this season. The Daytona 500 will be February 16th. Atlanta will be February 23rd. COTA will then be March 2nd. Then you've got March 9th, Phoenix, Las Vegas. Then you go to Homestead, Miami. So stopping right there, the West Coast swing is no longer a thing. There's only 2 West Coast dates right there. And then, of course, you're going to have the COTA race, which is sort of Midwest or, however you want to classify Texas. Then from Miami Homestead, they'll be in Martinsville on March 30th. Darlington, Bristol, Talladega, Texas will be the next races on the schedule, all sort of closely grouped together as you go there. So that's a nice run for the schedule as well. Then you've got Kansas, North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race, Charlotte, Nashville Superspeedway, Michigan. Then they'll make the big journey over there June 15th to Mexico City, Pocono, Atlanta, the Chicago Street Race, Sonoma, Dover, Indianapolis, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, Daytona, and then you're going to have your new playoff schedule. So no surprise there. Daytona's still going to be the cutoff race. That's still going to be a crazy race right before the playoffs start. But then you get into the actual playoffs, and this, for the Cup Series at least, is where a lot of people had a lot to say. Worldwide Technology Raceway will kick things off in the playoffs, followed by Bristol and then New Hampshire, which is sort of new to the playoffs for New Hampshire, so a lot of people had things to say about that. It's the Magic Mile. People in New Hampshire love that race. A lot of NASCAR fans love that race. A lot of NASCAR fans don't like that race, so for whatever reason, I guess New Hampshire has become a controversial talking point because it's now in the playoffs. I don't know. Then you've got Kansas and the Charlotte Roval, followed by Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. So the Charlotte Roval there being a cutoff race, some people had issues with that, but the one that raised a lot of eyebrows is Talladega basically being a cutoff race, or essentially close enough to a cutoff race right there before the championship. So Talladega being there in the final round before the championship race has raised a lot of people's eyebrows, because it is essentially, we saw it with Daytona this previous weekend, a few weekends ago. It's anybody's race. Anybody can claim that race. It could be another situation like Harrison Burton getting in. You know, it wouldn't be like necessarily that big of a deal, but it could be somebody much lower in the playoff standings getting into the championship race. So a lot of people raise their eyebrows about Talladega being that close, or just in the final round before the championship round. Playoffs, man. Then, of course, Phoenix being the championship race once again, and Miami not being in the playoffs. That has been up for debate, with a lot of people speculating they took Miami out of the playoffs so that next year, or 2026, they can possibly swap out Miami and Phoenix for the championship races. A lot of speculation there. I don't know. But NASCAR wasn't done there. According to several sources, including J-Ski, of which I'm going to read from in just a minute, NASCAR is already really close to finishing the 2026 schedule, and they have eyed on changing the schedule once again and adding some more additions. So let's go to that article from J-Ski. A source who has spoken with a senior NASCAR executive on the topic confirmed that NASCAR is exploring sites in Southern California. The Sports San Diego Commission and the San Diego Mayor's Office both did not respond to requests for comment, while NASCAR declined comment. Meanwhile, NASCAR is said to have spoken to groups in other cities, including Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and some from the Pacific Northwest. Not to be confused with the Pacific Northwest. So all of those cities having a street race or whatever type of race it would be is definitely exciting for the people in those cities. But once again, Richmond lost the race so that we could have Mexico City. If we get one of those races, which track, or we'll lose a date or something like that for those tracks to get dates, that's all up for debate. And they noticed they didn't say anything. They didn't name a specific city in the Pacific Northwest. Say that really fast because I had to cut this about 3 times to get that in. But that leads me to believe if NASCAR wants to continue to go international, what's in the Pacific Northwest that NASCAR could get 2 birds with 1 stone there? Vancouver. If NASCAR raced in Vancouver, I'm thinking that's possibly the city, in the at least one of them in the Pacific Northwest, that NASCAR could be looking at, because then you get another international race with it being in Canada, and you get another street race or whatever type of race it would be, and you get that Pacific Northwest market. So as crazy as it is that we've got Rockingham coming back to the Xfinity Series and the trucks, and that we're going to Mexico City next season, and that Bowman Gray is going to be a race on the schedule for the Clash at least, even though it's a non-points paying race this season, I think the schedule has a possibility to be even crazier in 2026, as has been alluded to by several people in the know, more in the know in NASCAR than I am. So yeah, that's all I got for you on this one. But before I go, I did want to give a shout out, a little bit of a sad time for OJ and Toothpaste. Good friend of the show, and you can see his dog Bean here. Unfortunately, Bean has left us. And it always stinks when somebody loses a pet, so I hate to end this one on a bummer, but definitely wanted to give Bean and OJ and his girlfriend a shout out there, because I don't know. It just felt like the right thing to do. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll keep making these things. If you got a question, if you're already subscribed, I appreciate you all as well. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be at Tri-County, so I'll probably be basically social media dark for most of the weekend. But yeah, so that's going to be my spiel on that. Visit the merch store. The link is in the description. T-shirt. You get a free T-shirt if you buy a hat. Just put them both in the cart. And I think that's all I got for you on this one. Peace.